Do you need inspiration, motivation, or hope? Do you let fear hold you back? Sometimes you feel lost or just stuck in your own thoughts, and you want a clear path to give you results. Then, my friend, you are in the right place. My name is Rachel Best, and I am your host of How to Make a Mark in the World, Finding Your Signature. Go ahead and grab a pen and paper because you're going to want to take notes.
Hello. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to be here again today. Today we have a special guest. I got the opportunity. It's been almost a year ago since I got to meet Jen at a speaking event, and I've just been following her and what she's doing, and she is so making a mark in the world. And so she just has such a beautiful heart, and she's just doing some amazing things. So I asked her to be a part of this How to Make a Mark in the World to just give you some hope and some inspiration. So today, here is my special friend, Jen. Jen, tell us, how are you making your mark in the world?
By taking bold chances and listening to God, just like you, girl.
Amen to that.
When we were just talking a few minutes ago and, kind of chit-chatting back and forth about, what I am doing, the first thing that popped into my mind was to tell people the story about my stem cells. And, a lot of people, I've posted some things on, Instagram and Facebook about this in the past, but a lot of people don't know the struggle and the journey and then the backstory that came, before all of that. They just see me as I am now, right? Living and breathing and able to, I don't run marathons anymore, but able to hike, mountains and, do all these different things in the world. And, a couple of years ago, the doctors told me that I wouldn't. And let me give you the backstory. So I have a blood clotting disorder, and it's a factor 5. And back in my 20s, my early 20s, I got blood clots in my legs and they went into my lungs. And I almost died then. I was sick for a very long time, recovered from that, went through a whole bunch of genetic testing, and they decided that, the likelihood of me dying on the blood thinners was higher than me dying off of them. So I made the decision to get off of blood thinners. So I was off blood thinners for 20 years. So fast forward June of 2020, I start feeling these pains that were familiar pains, but I was like, no, that's not possibly happening again. So my legs got real swollen, and I attributed my leg swelling to all the deadlifting that I had been doing because I was in great shape. And I'm like, there's no way I have blood clots again. Well, I did. So I had blood clots in both of my legs this time. They went from my ankles all the way up to basically my groin. And then they had broken off and went into my lungs. And God, I mean, anyone who knows, anyone who's experienced, I mean, people die from that. One blood clot can kill you. It has a 67% mortality rate. By the time I got to the ICU, basically as I was put directly in ICU, they did a CAT scan and they came running in and they're like, how are you even living right now? And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you are one day away from death. They said anyone else that would have gotten the clots and the size of the clots that you have, they were all through my aorta, in my lungs. My lung had collapsed. I had massive, some of the biggest they said that they've seen ever in their medical careers. And they're like, how are you alive? And what they attributed it to, and I promise there's a story to this, is the shape that I was in. I'm 48 years old. I am in great physical shape, cardiovascular shape. I work out, fitness and eating right. And all of those things have been very important to me because back in 2007, I had cancer. And when I had cancer back in 2007, I was overweight, unhealthy, didn't watch what I ate, drank too much, smoked cigarettes, all the stuff you could possibly do, worked all the time. And, I didn't want my diagnosis to define who I was going to be. And during the time of when I got my thyroid taken out because I had an aggressive form of thyroid cancer, to the time I finished my radiation, I gained 100 pounds. 100 pounds. And back then, I was probably 20 pounds heavier than what I am right now. So add 120 pounds to current Jen. Okay. And the doctors told me that I would always be overweight. Okay. So, and I'm like, I'm not letting that define me. I am not letting you put a limitation on me. And it took me 3 years to lose that weight. So that's kind of like the backstory to the backstory. So fast forward 2007 to 2020, Jen, completely different person, great shape. I don't smoke anymore. I haven't smoked since cancer. I watch what I eat. I exercise, pretty much every day. I hike, run every once in a while. I keep myself in really good shape. But if I hadn't made that life change, right? If I would have listened to the doctor that told me that I would always be overweight, Jen would not be sitting in front of you right now whatsoever. Okay. So the lesson in that is, so many people, they just accept, right, that diagnosis, that thing that you're always going to be this way, you're always going to be that way. But just, I am proof that you don't have to accept that diagnosis or whatever thing they say that you're going to be, because the doctors, as you can see, are not always right. So fast forward to me living through awful blood clots that would have killed anyone else. And even when I go to the doctors now, I just went there 2 weeks ago, doing all my checks and to make sure that I'm good. And they still call me the miracle girl. He goes, I have told your story so many times because not only did I have blood clots in my lungs, but this ding dong gets on a plane because I went to Sedona because I thought I was just kind of stressed out or tired or whatever. I hop on a plane, I attempt to go hiking with blood clots in my lungs. And I'm like, wow, there's something really wrong. I thought I had COVID.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I got back on a plane and they're like, you got on a plane? You did what? Like, how are you even there's no reason I am here, but for the grace of God and my good health, right? Because me making that conscious decision many years before to completely turn my life around.
Wow.
So, after I got out of the hospital, I still had a lot of issues breathing. I was like, I'm trying to do a example. I was like, how you doing? I couldn't breathe. I couldn't take more than 3 or 4 words. I could take maybe 5 or 6 steps, and I was wildly out of breath.
Wow.
What had happened was the blood clots, even though I survived them, they caused a lot of damage. And I developed an incurable disease, and I'm putting that in quotes for everyone to see very clearly, that called pulmonary hypertension. And pulmonary hypertension, it's high blood pressure between your heart and your lungs that will eventually lead your heart to fail. And usually the time from diagnosis to death is 5 to 7 years, but you would spend them basically just suffocating from not being able to breathe. Your heart will eventually go out. You're done. And again, this goes back to diagnosis, right? So science tells you you're not going to live. Doctors tell you get your affairs in order. Everyone's speaking this death sentence over me. And I'm like, nah. I am going to fight. I am not going to just sit back and die and do nothing about it. Just accept it. And I'm like, God, I'm not giving up. I wasn't going to let this define me. I'm like, I survived all of these things that have happened to me in my life only to be taken out by something, that where my heart's going to fail. I'm not doing that. I'm going to fight. So through research, and it was actually an ex-boyfriend of mine, and my husband knows this. So an ex-boyfriend of mine, he helped do a lot of research, in looking up alternative ways of healing, and ended up finding a place to go to get stem cells. And here's the thing. So it was COVID. Um, and you could go to Panama because they have like the golden strain of stem cells. That's where like Joel Rogan's dad went. That's where a lot of your, high end people go, rich people. I'll just say that because it's very expensive. They have this golden strain of stem cells in Panama, or you can go to Italy, but Italy was shut down at the time. Or you can go down to Tijuana, Mexico, right? So guess where I went? I went to Tijuana. And, people talk about getting stem cells in America. So there's American stem cells, and then there's the stem cells that you can get outside the country. Because of our bureaucracy and the way that pharma rules in United States, the stem cells that you want, you can only get out of the country. So like the kind where they take them from you and then they re-inject them, like that don't work. That doesn't work. And then they also have like cord stem cells that you can get injected in America, but they're not as potent as what I got outside of the United States. So I got what are called mesenchymal cells. And they are like the mega healers. They can turn into different types of cells. Basically, they can turn into what do you call it? Like cartilage, bone, organs. They're hugely anti-inflammatory, and they basically go in. They go wherever there's inflammation or something going on in your body, and they just go right there and they start fixing.
Wow.
And I got 50 million mesenchymal cells. And we went down, we flew into San Diego. My in-laws came with me. And I remember like going into San Diego, flying in, I was trying to walk downtown and I couldn't. I kept on having to rest, go like not even half a block. I'm like, I gotta sit down. I can't do it. I'm like, I mean, it was so like, this cannot be my normal. This cannot be what takes me down. And so actually back then it was the doctor's sister came, picked us up in San Diego. There were a couple other people that came that had flown in from different parts of the country. And then we drove down into, the nice part of Tijuana. Everyone thinks of border town Tijuana. When you go past that, it's actually quite nice. So we went into Tijuana, went to this clinic, spent, a half a day there. The cells were flown in that morning from Mexico City. And they came from donated umbilical cord cells. Okay. And then they separate out those mesenchymal cells so they can put them in you. So got an IV, got a high dose of vitamin C, vitamin B. They drove me back and they're like, okay, can't smoke. I'm like, okay, I don't smoke, so that's not a problem. Can't drink, can't do anything harmful. You got to be very restful, for the next couple of weeks because you don't want to do anything that could, possibly traumatize your body because you don't want the cells to go to the wrong place, right? So that's when you can't work out. I'm like, well, don't worry about me working out. It was not possible back then.
Right. Wow.
So, so I just kind of sat and waited and prayed, and I'm like, God, please, I can't, it's so difficult, right? But here's, what happened is so during this time, when I was home, I'm going to back up my story a little bit more before I tell you the good part. So when I was home, after I got out of ICU, I was unable to work. Didn't know what I was going to do. I had a great team that was taking care of things at the office while I was gone during the busiest time in real estate ever, because it was when the rates were like 2.75, crazy. But I was home and I'm like, what am I going to do with all this time I have? And I always tell everyone, like, God cleared my schedule because it was during that time when I was home in between healing and getting out of the hospital that I wrote my first book. That's when I wrote The Storm. And I wrote it mostly as a legacy piece, but I wanted to help people get through their own storms. I wrote it thinking that I was going to potentially die, in a couple of years. But I wanted to take the lessons that I learned and, help other people get through their storms. And I had so many things. I'm like, why, God, why is this, And he's like, girl, I remember one time, like and I'm going back and forth, I know, but it's just like these things are coming to me and I'm like, this is
I love
important.
it. Yeah.
One time I was emptying the dishwasher and I was like out of breath. I was like, and I just started crying.
Hmm.
And I'm like, this is going to be my life. Like, why would you do this to me, God? And so then I went and I took a shower, and even taking a shower back then was exhausting. And as I'm showering, I'm like, oh, it came to me. I mean, literally, God's like, I'm making you weak so I can make you strong. I'm making
Wow.
it makes me like, oh, don't cry. He took me, he's like, I'm doing the same thing that what happened to Jesus. I mean, we took him down and we pushed him down so that he can rise and do
Wow.
something, and save the world. And I'm not saying I'm saving the world, but he made me so weak and so dependent on him
Mm.
that I had and nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. But after that, I became so much stronger, because
Mm.
I was so dependent. It was just
Mhm.
cool. But fast forward 2 weeks after stem cells. First, I didn't notice anything. I'm like, please work, please work, please work, please work. Right. You know, and I did wash one day, and my daughter Allie's room was upstairs, and I was bringing some stuff upstairs. And I get to the top of the stairs, and I'm like, I'm not breathing hard. I'm like, I'm not out of breath, like at all.
Uh-huh.
And and then me, just because I'm weird, I'm like, I'm gonna get on the Peloton. I hadn't ridden in a long time. I'm like,
Wow.
I wonder if I can get on this Peloton. And I just literally dropped everything and I went and I got on the Peloton and I rode. And again, I mean, I was, I would say not conditioned again, because you get unconditioned. But I got on the Peloton and I rode the Peloton for 20 minutes. And I just sat there and I cried. And I was like, oh my
Mm.
God, I'm healed.
Wow.
But then it started getting better, better and better and better and better. And one of my clients is a cardiologist. And I texted him like, dude, we need to get a heart cath, right? Stat. Like, I got to see if I'm really healed, because I just kept on, like, I would talk and I wouldn't be like, and I'm like, oh my God, I can have a full sentence now. I can speak, I can walk, I can do this and I can do that. So about a couple weeks later, got a right heart cath, and he's like, this is so boring. And I'm like, what? He's like, this is the most boring heart cath I've ever done in my life. And I'm sitting there because he's in my heart with this tube and camera and blood pressure stuff. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, your blood pressure between your heart and lungs is at athlete level. And it was like, whoa. And I'm
Wow.
like, holy crap. And my husband says that it was the best day of his life. When the doctor came out and told him about that. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, what if I would have listened to the doctors? Like, I would be, who knows, right now.
Wow.
And the lesson, Rachel, is this. It's like, you get that diagnosis, or you get these people speaking negativity,
Mm.
or you can't do this, or this is how it's going to be. But you don't have to accept that.
Amen.
You can keep on fighting. You have
Mm.
to fight. You can't let words or science or anything define who you're going to be and what you are going to become, because the only one that's got say over it is you and God.
Mhm. Right.
God first, but
Yep.
you got to be the one that fights and that doesn't sit back and just accepts what's being told to you.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
number one, I'd be dead right now if I hadn't had cancer, and if I hadn't turned my life around, and if I had listened to the doctor saying you're always going to be overweight. I mean, back then I was a size 6, and then I went to a size, like, I want to say like 20 or something like that. It was big. I'm a size 2 now.
Wow.
Um,
No
and
way.
I didn't even know I can get that little, honestly. But as I've, gotten, you know, more into fitness and watching what I ate, and I'm like, I'm 48 years old. I don't have a thyroid. I choose to make positive decisions in my life about what I am to become. And I don't listen to what anyone else says. And if I can encourage one person today that's listening to be like, yeah, you know what? Your doctor told you you're going to be fat. Why are you listening? Why are you listening? Your doctor told you you're going to die or you have an incurable disease. Don't listen to that. Fight. Do not give up. Don't let someone speak that into your life. And it could be from diagnosis to, you'll never be successful. You might as not even try. You're going to fail if you do that.
Mhm.
Don't even try. Rachel, you'll never make any money speaking. You're like, yes, I am.
Mhm.
And I'm going to change lives in the meantime. I'm going to speak into the prisons. I'm going to speak life into other people. I am going to make a positive change and you're going to make a mark in the world. I mean, that's what you are doing.
Mhm.
And I just want to encourage other people, like, don't accept the status quo.
Mm-mm.
Like you gotta fight. And when God puts something here and it won't go away, that's when you listen.
Wow.
That's when you listen.
Wow. Wow.
That's my story. That was like almost 30 minutes of just me speaking, but
Wow.
man, I'm just like the stem cells. I mean, all the people I have sent so many people down to Tijuana and everyone's like, Tijuana. I'm like, no. It's not like border town, like, Chiclets, Tijuana. This is like downtown. It's like you're in a tropical area. It's beautiful where you actually go. It has saved the lives of countless people, and it's relatively inexpensive. I mean, we're talking less than $5,000. And
Wow.
if you can save your life or make your life better, if you have, I mean, it's good for Parkinson's, lupus. I mean, all these inflammatory diseases, Crohn's disease. I mean, arthritis. Because not only do the stem cells heal here, right? But I was getting arthritis. I have nothing. I feel no
Wow.
pain whatsoever. I used to get this pain in my hip, gone. And as a matter of fact, we just went back there because I'm like, well, if it did this once when I was sick, well, I wonder what it can do when I'm healthy, you know? And it's been, and what I've noticed, as a healthy person going and getting those stem cells, it's like my muscle tone's getting better. Like
Really?
I feel better. I sleep better. And if I got to pay $5,000 to do that every couple of years, I'm doing it. But
Wow.
I had another. Can I tell one more story about something really awesome? But I need to read a text
Yeah.
message, and I'm not going to say a name. But this is a client um, of mine that he took his daughter down there,
Mhm. Mhm.
and his daughter was in a wheelchair for a
Mhm.
long time. And he said, I said, how is she? And I want to read two text messages to you. She had PANS, which is pediatric acute onset neuropsychiatric syndrome. Essentially, you get an infection that screws up your immune system, your body starts attacking your brain, and it drives you into a psychosis. And they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to heal their daughter over a period of years. Okay. And a couple weeks after stem cells. Okay. So she was in a wheelchair. She was a mess. She couldn't function, nothing. She said just dropped off for her first day of school. Last time I took her, she was in a wheelchair. Now she's normal and strong again, like a 17-year-old should be.
Wow.
Thank you for your help. Allying our fears against stem cell therapy. It made all the difference in the world. Boom.
Wow.
Points. I mean, it's like, what do you have to lose? I'm such a huge, obviously a fan because it saved my life, but when all hope is gone, you got to keep fighting,
Mhm.
and you have to do everything in your power, to help yourself. And doctors, they don't know, big pharma controls a lot of stuff more than we would even
Yep.
think about knowing,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and they're so against this treatment because it would take away a lot of people having to take medicine. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, I mean, I post up on Facebook. I've shared the link with many, many different people, and, you guys can reach out to me, on Facebook, and I'll send you the link. But life changing, but the bigger picture is like, don't give up. Don't let someone speak, science speak a death sentence over you. God can do great things, but you also have to act. You can't just
Mm-hmm.
accept, what is. You
Mm-hmm.
have to act.
Yeah. 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 I love your story. I've heard about stem cells, a few years ago, but never really like dived into it or checked it out. I know somebody that was kind of checking into it because he had some issues with the shoulder, and
Mhm.
he tried everything to, like fix it, and he still was having like troubles. I don't even know. I should reach out to him and see if he ever moved forward. And if not, I need to
Yeah.
connect him with you.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, so he had mentioned a little bit about it, but I never like investigated it or anything like that. I never had a purpose, right? So I never had a need or a reason to. But I love that you share this because it's awareness. It's creating awareness for people that they go. I mean, there's so many things. There's just so many things that run through my head. One is, yeah, don't accept somebody what somebody else speaks over you. Like, I am such a big believer on that. I mean, even the Bible says it, Proverbs and other areas of the Bible, the power of the tongue is life and death. And so, being careful of what we speak about ourselves and what we let other people speak over us, and to not
Exactly.
claim it. If it doesn't align with the Bible, don't claim it. God says in his word that he, and I believe First Peter, right? Like, we're healed in the name of Jesus. And so, just being careful of what we allow others to speak over us, what we claim of what other, because that's not truth. That is not truth. And so, God has given us science to learn more about him, but also, depends on, like you said, like the big pharma, like where's the root at, right? Where's the root at? And so, it's
Yeah.
crazy that in America that, they want to keep us in that sick, right? So that
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
can get the money. And you found a different alternative. And
Yeah.
so I'm definitely intrigued. And so, like, where would you guide somebody? Like, they could obviously reach out to you, but where would you guide them to get good, accurate information? And, if they were like on a path wanting to learn more.
There really isn't. I read a couple of books, and I'd have to go find the books. But if you do the research, it's the mesenchymal cells are called MSC cells that do. They have a very low like rejection rate. And again, it comes to don't get them here in America because they're not going to be as effective, and they're going to way overcharge you. I mean, I had doctors wanted to charge me just to get like roughly 6 million cells, mesenchymal cells, along with a whole bunch of other stuff I didn't need, 10, 15, 20, $50,000, and it's like, no. Um, you have to go out of the country. You have to go out of the country. You cannot, and you can't like when you get your own stem cells injected back into you. I mean, really, every single person that I know who's done that, it's not been effective at all.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get those, and they're donated umbilical cords, so it's not like they harvested them from people like stole them or something, or it's not unethical. It's donated. But when you're able to separate those things out, which you can't do here, it makes all the difference in the world. So when people are doing research, I mean, Joe Rogan's been a huge, he talks about the stem cells because his family has gotten them. I think he gets them also. But I mean, they go to Panama, people go to Italy, you go to Mexico, and now they have another one down in Cancun. So you can make it a whole
Nice.
vacation if you wanted to. But yeah, I mean, you just have to go to the websites. But I mean, the most important thing is it really needs to be outside of the United States in order to get the good stuff. It's unfortunate, but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, Yeah, I mean, just do your research on it. It's if you guys want to Google it, it's R3 stem cells, and just do international or Mexico. Um, and that's where I've gone now twice, and that's where I've sent a whole bunch of people, and I don't get paid, or I don't get a commission of. I'm doing this out of like literally, I want everyone to know about this.
Mhm.
And just don't accept, just like you were saying, don't accept that diagnosis. Like, don't accept that what people are speaking over me. I'm not always going to be fat. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm not going to die of pulmonary hypertension.
Right.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
listen.
you're yeah. Oh my goodness. Like it's been 30 minutes already. Like the time
I
was
know.
just so fast. I'm like, dang it. But wow, like you just definitely shared so much good information and just your story. Like your story, I mean, stories are impactful. Stories are the things that we need to hear. Like you're a real person that has experienced some real things and you found a solution. You found something that was able to able to help you when your diagnosis was against you. And so definitely show how you don't just sit back and just take it, but to
No.
take it into your own hands and move forward and to be able to help heal yourself. And so moving forward, I know that you've had a lot of different shifts and a lot of changes in your life, and you're listening to the call that Jesus has put on your life. And so just share a little bit about what is a little bit next for you, and what is the vision that God has given you?
Where do I think it's going to be? Well, I mean, I'll tell you where I am right now. And I,
Hmm.
I think that, there's definitely more to come. I have, started speaking about, I've always been a big high level success, high level well-being person.
Hmm.
And that is what I've been called to speak on, is to speaking to high achievers, to let them know, like, you don't have to choose between success and also having, like, being a good mom or being a good wife. You can be both. And that is what I speak on. I've dedicated myself to speaking on this particular topic for the rest of the year, just because I think it's something that's so important. And so I'm speaking in the corporate space. That's my baby. Real estate, mortgage, big companies. I was just in Atlanta speaking. Did my speech, was awesome. And then I'm also coaching. So again, I've been called. I do well. I'm calling it transformational coaching. It's all encompassing. So again, I mean, and I think that you do a lot of this too. It's not just about, like, in sales, right? You got to call 50 people and you got to do this and you got to do that. Like, everyone freaking does that. I don't want to be that person. I teach you how to be successful at home and at work. And how do you balance everything? How do you overcome your past childhood trauma to take you into success now? Like, why are you triggered by the things that you're triggered with, and how do we get rid of those things? So I'm coaching women, some men. I mean, I thought that my specialty was going to be just really working with women, but then I'm like, guys are coming to me too now, and I'm like, all right, well, I can help the guys because they probably they probably need more help. And I'm also keeping, I mean, just because, I mean, and this is, just helping other loan officers. I was in the mortgage business for almost 30 years and achieved, I mean, one of the best in the country. I'm top 10 most empowering women in mortgage in the world as of last year. So I have a lot of stuff that I can teach and to get people to go to the next level. Um, and that's just what I'm called to do. So I mean, I literally, I gave up a career that I worked in for almost 30 years to follow this calling. And like I was telling you before the show, I'm like, I'm blindfolded and I'm walking off the ledge, and I'm like, it's good. Like, I'm so excited and happy to be doing this. I feel for the first time in a long time, like, all right, God, I'm in the right spot now. Like, this is my jam. It's my jam. And it's been exciting. And I don't know, man, like, when I get on stage, like, I get really nervous before. Like, you know, like you get that feeling, you're like, oh, but the second I get on stage, like something happens to me and I become like Miss Chill. And even so, I spoke in front of E.T. Do you know who Eric Thomas is, the hip hop preacher?
Mm-mm.
So he's actually the #1 motivational speaker in the world right now.
Oh,
So
wow.
I spoke in front of him and he's looking at me and he came up to me afterwards. He's like, you like glided on the stage. He goes, you didn't walk. He goes, like, you just glided on the stage. He goes, man, your stage presence is so good.
That's awesome.
And but I get like this calm and chill. But then as soon as I get off the stage, I'm like, oh, again, you know, but when I'm on, I'm like
When you're on,
everything's
you're
great.
on.
When I'm on, but like the before and after is like 2 different stories.
Wow. Well, that's definitely stepping into what God has called you to do then. Like if it's like it's crazy, like he just like takes over, right? Like he just is like,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's
And
awesome.
you know, I can't wait to see where it takes me. And I have a lot of speaking engagements coming up, and all sorts of different, like it's not even the same thing. It's so diverse, speaking on a Christian fundraiser, for Untethered Ministries in April. I'm speaking in front of women's shelters next month. I'm speaking, I have all these different speaking engagements. I'm doing a couple corporate talks. I'm doing one on Thursday at Free Roam Brewery in Bernie. All these different things, but it's just the message really is the same. It's like you can do this. Like if I can do it, a girl from Buffalo, New York, right, that worked her butt off her entire life and had all these millions of different things happen to her. If I can do it, you can too. And that's what I want to show people. Just give them hope and like just don't settle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know we've gone way over.
No, it's been great. It's been great. Yeah, you're so relatable, and so you're just so relatable. You just have such a beautiful heart, and you brought it up just a second ago. Thank you. You brought it up a second ago, and before we got on the call, and this is something that I want to share with people to make sure that they get this, because I've been there, you've been there, and you're there right now. I'm there. That we want to. You said the blindfold. We want to know we want the whole staircase. We want the whole picture. We want to know everything and how and all the things. I need to know why, what, and how these things work. Like that's the kind of person I am, and to just okay, like God is going to show you the step in front of you. He's not going to show you the whole staircase. He's going to show you just the step in front, and having that trust and that belief and the obedience and the faith that God is in control, and that if he can trust us with that step, then he can trust us with the next step. And so, and he gets the glory. And earlier you shared in your testimony, like he broke you down.
I was broken.
So you were so weak and you had to depend on his strength. And, I know I'm in this spot right now in my own life of God is just, he just wants our full obedience and trust and faith in him so that he can move mountains. Because when he does it in his timing and in his strength and in his plan, instead of me trying to do it in my own, walk and whatever, if I do it, he doesn't get the glory. And if he does it, he gets the glory, because God knows I can't do some of the things, right? And God knows that, when people see that you're doing things that only God can do, and only God can put you in those places, and speak to those people, like that's God. And we're supposed to just, reflect that image of God and just point people back up and give them hope and the inspiration to just have that relationship and that faith and obedience in him. So
yeah. And the only other part I want to add to that, and we talked about this a little bit before the show, is yes, you absolutely have to trust, but you as a person, you have to take action. You can't just sit back and expect everything to be taken care of for you. You have to like work towards it, right? The old story about, the guy who wanted to be saved from the flood, and God sent all those people, and he's like, no, I'm going to wait for God to, to do this. But and then he dies, and God's like, dude, I sent you 3 people. Like, come on. So you have to take action also. You can't just sit back and, expect things to happen. You have to listen, right? Be
Mhm.
still enough to listen,
Mhm.
um, and then do what he says. And
Mhm.
it's scary, like scary. I was scared to death. I mean, well, maybe I shouldn't use that term. I was very scared. Uh, I mean, doing these things, the big, bold moves, but every single big, bold move that I have made in my life has turned out just great. And I could fail. I don't have a plan B. I have no plan B. I've never
Mhm.
had a plan B though.
Mhm.
I got plan A. That's it. And so I'm going to put everything into what I feel like I've been called to do, just like you are
Yeah.
yourself. And that's why I love you so much. From the second I met you,
Oh,
girl, you're very special, so
hmm,
special. And
thank you.
you're really making a difference in so many people's lives. And I cannot wait to see what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
amazing.
Oh, well, so are you. I appreciate
Thank
you,
you.
and I feel like we could just talk all day. We'll have to
I
set up
know.
another time to
It'll be a
do a
9-hour podcast.
conversation. Well, thank you so much,
You're
Jen,
very
for taking
welcome.
the time and just creating awareness, sharing your story, giving hope, inspiration, and just teaching all the lessons that you've learned, and that that the audience can take some of the pieces of those lessons, and I'm sure they can apply it to their life too. So I thank you so much for this time.
You're
Until
welcome. Thank
next
you for
time, my
having me.
friends. Yes, yes. We'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye. All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.
This is your host, Rachel Bess, and I hope you loved the show. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel